Okay, so we are on the chapter 3 of the laws of Lashon Harah, Sefer Chavetz Chaim, the laws of evil speech. When it is prohibited to say something negative about our fellow. So we did the first halacha, the first law yesterday. Well, let's just go over that one. So we're at the beginning of chapter 3 if you're following along, and if you'd like to get an English copy of this book, more than happy to provide a link, or if you have any questions, please feel free to type them. Okay, Kama Gadol Issa Lashon Hara, She'asartu Torah Filo Al Emes. How we see how great the sin of Lashon Hara, of evil speech, is, that even when something's true, we're not allowed to say it. So even if, very often people say, oh, I can say that negative thing about him because it's true. So we see from here that the Torah prohibits even saying something true about our friend if it is negative. B'chol gavna d'lo mibai im hu shemer atzmo l'saper lo v'seiser makbid al zeh shelo yizgal lo ta'aser. So the prohibition applies if someone is speaking something negative about his friend in private, not in front of his friend, right? That's for sure prohibited. That's Lashon Hara. Not only that, there's a curse associated with it. We mentioned in the introduction that the Torah gives a curse to somebody who speaks negatively about his friend in private. And we also mentioned that very often, if you look in the specific sins that the Torah curses a person for, those are the sins which are usually done in private, because people aren't afraid of God, they're only afraid of people. They do it, behind the back. That's why there's two types of stealing in the Torah. One is called Geneva, and one is called Gezela. Geneva is done, it's surreptitiously, it's sneaking in the middle of the night and stealing something. Gezela is taking a gun and doing a robbery, doing it in a brazen way. So Geneva, which is done in secret, there are certain penalties that you have. If you're caught, you have to pay back twice the value of the item you stole. Only in Geneva, because it's a worse sin in the sense that you were only afraid of people. You didn't want to get caught by people, but you weren't afraid of God. You didn't recognize the fact that God can see everything. So there is something to be said it's much worse often when you do a sin in private, because you don't really care. You only care what people think. You don't care what God thinks. So, fine. Elafilu imhu mishaer be'atzmo shahaya omer davar zeh af b'fanav. Even if you would say, yeah, I don't care if I'm saying a negative thing about Shmuel, and if Shmuel was here, I'd say it anyway. Oshuhu misaper lashon hara al chavero b'fanav mamish. Or if you actually say it in front of Shmuel, Shmuel is standing right here, and you tell Levi some very negative thing about Shmuel right in front of his face. Gam kein aser v'lashon hara mikri. This is also lashon hara, and it's also prohibited. In a certain aspect, when you're in front of the person, it's even worse. When you say something negative in front of somebody, you come off as a very brazen chutzpahdik person. It's a very, very audacious, brazen thing to do. Not only that, it could be when you're saying this negative thing in front of your friend that you are embarrassing him. And embarrassing somebody is a very serious sin that the Torah compares somebody who embarrasses somebody else to murdering him. It says it's better to jump into a burning furnace than to embarrass somebody. So speaking Lashon Hara in front of someone where you're going to embarrass them is much, much worse. Like we already discussed in the introduction. Okay, that was halacha aleph. Let us go on to halacha beis, law number 2. Umashin nimtza lepa'amim heter b'divrei chazal v'im lo ha'imoneias atzmo melomer zeh b'fanav hanu dafka ba'avak lashon hara. He says we do find in a certain source in the Talmud that under certain circumstances you're allowed to say something if you're in front of the person, and since you're in front of him, you won't hold back, because we assume that since you're saying something in front of him, it wouldn't be negative. But he says this is a very limited case, similar to the case we discussed earlier of apitlasa. We had a case where you say something and it can be interpreted in two ways. It could be interpreted in a negative way, or it could be interpreted in a positive way. Now, we had the case before that since you're saying it in public in front of 3 people, it obviously must be that you're saying it in the positive way, because you wouldn't want it to get back to the original person. So if there's an option, if you're meaning it negatively or meaning it positively, we view it like you mean it positively. Now, what was the example we had before? The Chavetz Chaim's example was you're standing in front of 3 people and someone asks, hey, do you know where I can get some food? And you say, yeah, the oven's always on at Shmuel's house. So that could be interpreted in a couple of ways. It could mean the oven's always on, or he's always having food because he's very overweight and he just eats all day and he doesn't do anything with his life. That would be negative. Or it could mean that Shmuel has a large family and he always has guests over and he's such a hospitable person. You should go there. That's very positive. So when you make this ambiguous statement in front of three people, then it is totally, it's permitted in that case. And there were also some conditions there to look. So you should look back in chapter 2 or go back to the previous classes we had on this. And this is a similar case. If you're standing in front of Shmuel and you say this ambiguous statement that can be viewed in either of two ways, and it's not, the statement itself is not objectively negative, but in this case where you're saying, yeah, Shmuel always has his fire cooking, his oven's always on, so that, since you're in front of Shmuel, you're probably not intending to hurt him when you're right in front of him. Okay. This is what we just said. Reading again in Hebrew, we just explained. באופן שהשומע מבין שכוונתו בביר אחר שיש בדבריו לגנאי ועניין זה קשה מאוד לצמצם לכן אמרו חז"ל now שמוציאו את הדבר הזה מפיו אין אדם מזבח שלום אפילו בפני חברים כן okay now מוכח שאין כוונתו לגנוסו ועל כן מותר אבל אם מינקר מתנועסו שכוונתו לגנוסו. Now we mentioned this earlier above. If you're saying this statement and through your bodily actions, your hand gestures and your face, you're grimacing as you say it, it's clear that you meant to insult Shmuel. You're saying, yeah, the fire's always there at his house, and you're doing one of those, then that's for sure prohibited because you're clearly saying something negative. So it doesn't matter that the fact that you are saying an ambiguous thing in front of somebody, so you're not insulting him. No, you're insulting him because just look at your hand motions and whatnot. Vim kain teva hadam lios mizbayish lomer b'ofen zeh b'fnei chavero av shekol einyin בעצמוסו אפילו אם נפרשו גלנאי הוא רק אבק לשון הרע והוא אמס והוא יודע בעצמו שהוא היה אומר דבר זה אף בפניו אפילו הכי אסר. So even if the statement is an ambiguous statement or it's a type of avak lashon hara, but you're doing it in a way that's clear that it's negative, that is aser. Okay, let's go on to halacha gimel. And if you have any questions, you could just type them in the side here, or you can email, or if you want to subscribe to get the YouTube version of this class, which is better quality, just message me or email. Okay, halacha gimel, number 3. V'ra od is godol isser lashon hara. Let us see how great the prohibition of lashon hara, of evil speeches. She'afilu ein medaber mitoch hasina v'lo nischavin behasipor lignoso. Rak omru derech schok v'derech kalos rosh afal pikein kevin she'al pi emes divrei genayehu aser min haTorah. So he writes that lashon hara doesn't only have to be when you say something negative because you hate him. Even if you're just joking around with the guy, you say something negative, but it's just a joke. You don't hate the guy. That's lashon hara, and it's a Torah prohibition. Perhaps saying to somebody, you joke with somebody that he keeps dropping the ball in football, and just as a joke, you say that he's not a great athlete, or you say, oh look at Butterfingers over there, or he's overweight, and you make fun of his weight, or some other thing. But you're really good friends with him. You don't hate the guy. You're just saying a joke. You're just teasing him, and the guy might laugh, but really on the inside, he might be hurting very much. So that is a Torah prohibition of lashon hara, even when you don't hate the person. Oh yeah, my friend, he doesn't mind. We're friends. We insult each other like that. Maybe he does mind. He's just not telling you. But if it's a negative thing, even if it's just a joke, and even if he's not there, right? You're just talking to your friend about a third party, about you're teasing a friend of yours, and he's not standing in front of you. That would also be a Torah prohibition, according to what he says here in the Be'er Mayim Chaim in Beis. Okay. Halacha Dalet. Iser sipur lashon harahu afilu im enu mevar be'es hasipur es ha'ish shehu medaber alav rak hu mesaper stam umitoch inyan hasipur nishma lahashamea al eze ish kivein hamasaper hazeh. Now this is something people ask a lot. What if you say something negative about somebody but you don't say who it is? So that's fine, but big but, if through the story you're telling you reveal who the person, it becomes apparent through your story who you're talking about, then that is a regular prohibition of lashon hara, right? You're saying a negative story about somebody, and you think this person doesn't know who you're talking about, but he figures it out from context clues or whatever it is, who you're talking about, that is a prohibition of Lashon Hara. V'chol Lashon Hara hu. V'yaisim mizeh she'afilu im b'divrei sipuro lo haya shum inyan genai klal rak she'ayidei dvar v'nisav ivra o genus l'chavero v'amisapra zen itzchaven l'zeh b'ramoso gam zeh b'chlal Lashon Hara hu. V'davar zeh nikra v'fi chazal v'shem Lashon Hara b'tzina. Right? Let's say what you're saying is not even a negative thing. It's just it's something very ambiguous, and you don't even say who it is, right? So you have two things. You're saying something ambiguous. Let's say this new case. You're saying something ambiguous. It's not totally negative. It's not negative at all, and you don't even say who you're talking about. But through your story, something bad will happen to the person you're talking about. So even though you didn't say anything negative, but you're kind of being a little sneaky, you're giving a piece of information to somebody that you know he's going to figure out who you're talking about. And also, it's not necessarily a negative thing, but you know it's something which is going to get back to this person and cause him damage. That is also a prohibition of Lashon Hara. Like, I don't know, something, let's say there's somebody looking to hire somebody in New York, in an office in New York City, but he doesn't want to hire anyone who is commuting from New Jersey. And you know this guy lives in New Jersey. He lives in Fort Lee, and he's got to drive over the George Washington Bridge every day. So yeah, you tell the guy that, oh yeah, I think somebody applying for your job lives in New Jersey. So the guy's you didn't say who it was, and you didn't say anything negative, because despite what people might think in the media, there's nothing wrong with living in New Jersey. Actually, New Jersey is a very nice place. More so Central Jersey. I don't know about North Jersey, but just kidding. All of New Jersey is a nice place. But since saying that living in New Jersey is not an objectively negative thing, maybe it's not Lashon Hara. No, since you did it to try to get this guy messed over by not getting a job, and that was your plan, even though you're saying something which is not objectively negative, but something bad is going to happen, that this guy's not going to get hired for a job, that would be Lashon Hara. And also, even though you didn't mention who you're talking about, but since the guy could figure it out through context clues who it's talking about, that is also Lashon Hara. Thanks for coming, and hope to learn with you all tomorrow.